When you hear the word Polestar, what do you think of? Perhaps the word invokes images of pole position on the start grid, or perhaps guiding stars that mariners use to navigate seas, or perhaps it's just someone who's really good at pole dancing. If it's in the automotive context though, you're probably thinking about Swedish all-electric performance vehicle brand Polestar. Now at the moment in Australia, we've only got one model, Polestar 2, but I've come down to Melbourne CBD to meet a very special Polestar. This is the Polestar 02, which I'm sure is a reference to the element oxygen. You'll notice this car is a roadster. You see what they did there? Now this car is only in Melbourne for 3 days, and I've snuck in to have a look around it because it has some really interesting features. But the most important and interesting I'll save until the end. Let's start with the front end. Down here we've got this, what looks like a very conventional valance, but actually that contains a lot of technology as you'd expect from a Swedish, very safe, high-performance car. So it's got the forward-facing radar and a camera just hidden around here. But what you can't see are those radar sensors. They've cleverly hidden them behind a perspex panel. One, that keeps it really nice, clean and aerodynamic. And secondly, you don't get that great lump of radar showing off and ruining the front-end aesthetics. It's also perspex to resist stone chips, so it's practically thought out as well. This headlight is a signature of all Polestar models we've seen so far, but it's also a nod to Volvo, that Thor design they call it. But what you'll notice is, unlike previous Polestar designs, the gap between the two lights is growing bigger, and that signifies Polestar moving away from its parent Volvo. You can also start to see touches down here. Aerodynamics feature really heavily on this car, and it starts at the front here with a vent that leads through to the wheel well. And that aerodynamics heads all the way back down to the car and exits at the back. That obviously produces a very slippery and low drag car, because this one is obviously electric, and it also keeps those lines incredibly clean. What do you think about that design? Certainly very unique, but to me, I'm seeing a bit of Lotus in there maybe, perhaps a bit of Lamborghini, and even some of Ferrari's latest models. As this is a roadster, it's very easy to get a look at the interior, where you'll find more of typical Polestar, minimalist design and lots of nice materials. Now, the most interesting thing for me with this interior is they're trying to use a single plastic for all interior surfaces. Now, that makes this car incredibly sustainable, very easy to recycle at the end of its life, but they haven't compromised on those textures that Polestar has become so famous for already. Obviously, all digital displays, that huge central touchscreen, complemented by a digital driver's cluster. I'm not going to get in this car for 2 reasons. One is I'm not allowed, and second of all, I can't. This door has no handle, and I suspect it'll be keyless and just touch sensor to open the doors. Technically, Polestar says this is a 2+2. You can fit 4 adults in here. I'm not sure I'd want to be the 2 adults in the back because it is a little bit cramped. Now, I'm told that those front seats do roll forward enough to give you adequate room for a couple of adults back there, but as I say, not for long trips. I do love another touch they've brought back, which is the Swedish gold seat belts. That's an option in the Polestar 2, but I'm assuming for this thing, it'll be pretty standard fare. And when you get to the back end, there's more of this stunning styling. Now, this is a concept, but if Polestar's previous models, coming from concept to production version, are anything to go by, then many of these features are going to feature on a production model in the near future. This taillight is my favorite thing at the back end. Not only is it slender and LED and absolutely striking, it also doubles as the spoiler. That pops up over a certain speed to increase downforce or just reduce lift. Finally, these wheels. 22 inches on this particular concept, but I'm reliably informed that if this does make it into production, then it'll probably be more like a 21. But design is probably going to filter through almost unchanged. As for a couple of technical details, there's very little on the ground with this car at the moment, but I can tell you that about 650 kilowatts and 900 Newton meters is about the go, as well as 600 kilometers in range. So even for an EV, the performance is extremely potent. Polestar's nomenclature and naming system is pretty simple. The first car was the Polestar 1, which we didn't get in Australia. The second car which we do is the 2. Next after that will be the Polestar 3, then the Polestar 4, and after that, the Polestar 5, which is previewed by the Precept concept. Let me just do the maths. So that's Polestar 6 will be the next model. This car is particularly exciting because this previews the Polestar 6, a car that will go into production. If that sounds like a bit of you, then don't get too excited because they're only building 500 in this concept LA version, and they are all spoken for, including a number that will be coming to Australia. and perhaps would like to shell out about $300,000 for it when it arrives in 2026. They will be making a run outside of the 500 in different variants, so there is a chance you get your hands on one of these down under. But if you can't, don't be too disheartened, because with vehicles like this coming to the market and to Australia, and EVs of all types, then it shows there is a demand in Australia for EVs, and surely more will follow.